Welcome to Revive Ministries. Today we continue the discussion on our relationships and how they can play a role in our overall wellness. It's been over a year, especially when this gets uploaded, since I started live streaming and actually started podcasting in general. And it's been a learning experience, but also an amazing healing one. The connections I made hosting has been a huge blessing to me. And today I have some friends. One of them was here before. Well, another one is joining us today. It's Abel and Karoline. Thank you for coming and being a guest and sharing your insight with us today.
Hello, Robert. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
I like to always start off with a disclaimer. If you are in crisis, please seek appropriate professional help. There is a crisis hotline if you're in the U.S. It's 1-800-273-8255. It's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Let me just put the link. Let me put that there. It's 1-800-273-8255. I always encourage those who are watching to always know what's around you when it comes to resources, whether in the States or out of the country. There's right now I'm a NAMI facilitator, so there's virtual. It's not ideal, but we still connect in some way, and then maybe that little Band-Aid. But like tradition, Karoline knows I always start with a quote, and this is no different. The quote is from Anthony Brandt. It says, "Other things may change us." Let me just put the quote up here so everyone can see it. "Other things may change us, but we start and end with the family." I'm just going to let you guys roll with it. Abel, why don't you go first? And then Karoline, and I'll share my insight.
I love this quote. Whoever, this person, Anthony Brandt, he was a very wise person. And the reason I love this quote is because, right, you can trick many people, but when you are starting college, you can, say, well, this is going to be a new year, a new me, and I'm just going to do all these awesome things. But your family knows who you are. They know your quirks. They know the little things about you. And you can change many things. You can cut your hair. You can change your clothes. But at the end of the day, your family knows you best. And I just love that. We come into this world with nothing except our family. And we leave this world with nothing, but our families are
the
whole journey with us. So it's really awesome how everything in life may change, our circumstances, but there's some people that are always connected to you and will always be a part of you.
That's wonderful. How about you, Karoline? What does this quote say to you?
It made me think about how most people are born into a family, whether or not a healthy or toxic home, and it's through that initial interaction with caregivers, with parents, that kid or adolescents, babies, is how they learn how to relate to people and how to build relationships, right? And so it starts with that for everyone in this world. So and it can really mold who we are as people, and as life hits us, right, or whether it's jobs or I don't know, school or whatever it is, in life, it can change us, but also we can change within ourselves when we process our relationships with our families. And so
I love what you say about change. One constant is change. 2020 told us that. Right when this comes out, we're just entering into 2021. It'll be February when this uploads, and it's mind-boggling. I hear family. I'm first-generation American, and as a first-generation American, I remember I used to say to myself, I'm gonna make it up to my parents. And sometimes this urgency can be toxic, especially when you have a mindset of destination. Everything's about destination. A, B, C. If I don't reach that, there's difference between guilt and shame, which I find puzzling. Some guy, one of my closest friends, he shared with me that guilt is, you feel bad, but you there's this momentum forward. But with shame, it attaches to your value and it brings you down. And I find that in relationships and how you see, like you're talking about children, how they see the world really shapes how you look at the world, how you see yourself, and how you see our family and our, and our relationships, moving forward. Like I had mentioned, relationships is the main thing. Again, I know this quote kind of really makes me go to this topic. Our connections matter more than we like to admit. Let's just be honest. I know when you're young, when I was struggling, I just used to lie to myself how little they mean to me because it hurt. That was the point. Sometimes the most painful moments happen with those closest to us, but also the most precious moments. I for one find that like a big contrast. It's like, but at the same time, it makes sense because they are the ones you are the most vulnerable to. So I remember one quote, one thing I used to say is the good news is only as good as the bad news was. It's convoluted, but with that being said, any thought on this thread? What has helped you, especially in 2020? This is going to be aired in 2021, but I know there's a lot of lessons learned. And what lessons have you learned? And what do you, when you look at this thread? So, how about Karoline? You go first, and then we'll switch it up. So.
Yeah, sure. So, for me, what I've learned is forgiveness, especially this year. And it's true. People who you love or who you're very intimate with, they do tend to hurt you the most.
Yeah.
Because the connection between you and that person is so strong. So
yes.
Whatever they do or whatever happens between the both of you, it hits harder than, let's say, a stranger, So for me, having a loved one who has hurt me, or even in the past, especially, let's say if you've had some sort of trauma related to a person who is meant to be close to you,
yes,
family, right? Forgiveness is something that is like fundamental for you to learn, not to, kind of brush over what has happened to you or how you've been hurt, but in order for you to start healing yourself.
Yeah. A lot of times I tell people with forgiveness, it's not, you hope for reconciliation, but that the whole thing is for you to heal, have room to heal. That's about it. I remember one of the biggest lessons I learned, and I'm going to get to your thoughts on this, Abel, in just a second, was I can't help everyone, and that's okay. That's crazy. For me, it's like mind-boggling because that is something that I put a lot of weight and value in. I wanted to help people, but at the same time, I needed to help myself. I need to know that I can't be there for everyone, but it also shapes this model that I actually like. This one thought that I came up with, putting together various ideas. It says, because the value you think you've lost is not determined by the circumstance you're in. It's not about where you are right now or where you're going, but where you're going. Everyone plays a part, which means the environment needs to be safe, to be wrong, to foster the willingness to get the help, the willingness to listen, the room to heal. I've done a lot of groups, and I've never seen, in my experience, people grow or heal when all they talk about is what they don't have. I'll tell you this right now, it doesn't happen, at least it's all about what you do have and purpose. And Abel, I'm going to get to you right now. When it comes to connections, and you see this contrasting thing, how do you wrap your head around it? Because we could be stoic and be like, brush it off like it's not, but it's a big deal because relationships are a big deal. The closer you get, it becomes even more of a big deal. So anything you want to share?
Sure. I think COVID-19, right, has shed a lot of light on relationships and connection. How do we connect with each other? Maybe many of us, we thought we had a great connection with our family, but when there was that lockdown and you have to have dinner with them every night,
yeah,
you are forced to talk to them. shed light, on maybe we are not as united as we are, and it has helped us see how valuable it is that we put our technology, once we go back, we put our technology for a second and just be present with that person.
Yes.
When I think about connection and family and, going through the tough times together, I don't know, for some reason, I think about like the Fast and Furious series.
Yeah.
There's this big problem, this mountain of issues that they have to overcome, this evil, and they look at each other and they say, familia, like,
yeah, exactly.
and one last time, one last race, we're going to do this and we're going to do this together, which really expounds on, that quote, that famous saying that says, united we stand, divided we fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now during COVID, so many people are disconnected, right? And we have to find creative ways to reconnect and just find that unity, even when the world around you might be falling apart. So painful moments that are happening in our lives today, I'd rather go with them with the people that I trust, with the people that are going to help me through it. And even though you might not have that person, there are people that are willing to be by your side that I believe at the end of it, you will become like family. You will have that connection, that deep relationship with.
There's one guy in my that I knew reminded me. I used to read Ernest Hemingway a bit, all right? And one of the things he said was, I don't know, there's one dialogue. It's like, who's in your trench with you? Remember that? And like he says, how much does it matter with a person in the trench with you? And he says, more than the war.
Yes.
More than the war. So for me, it's like the connections is so important. I like, a lot of times I speak to people, and a lot of times before, I think a lot of people put emphasis on knowledge in the sense of knowing things, but Albert Einstein said it quite differently. He actually says, I think he says it this way. He says, the ability to change is the sign of intelligence. That is it. To change, your ability to change to circumstance, because the one thing that is constant is change. And when I was in the sciencey school, and they even said even further that you can't measure anything without change. So with that model, it is kind of it's kind of telling. When part of my recovery story is my faith, and I bring it up because I think sometimes people need to have a purpose. They need to have a why. Why do they do what they do? And I feel that is very helpful because those listening, I know not everyone believes what the same, and that's okay. But the thing is, you need to have a why, because that's the one constant. At least for me, it's never changing, and that is comforting, especially when everything else is changing, especially like it did in 2020. I want to kind of go into this. We're talking about all this great stuff, family and all this stuff, but what usually stops us is fear. So we're going into this one quote from Jack Canfield. It says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So I don't know who's brave enough to go.
About fear. Yeah, I don't know. I can go first.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I when I read this, it's interesting because the quote is almost saying that there's two sides, right?
Yeah.
And many of us, we don't want to look at the other side. We want to stay in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like you're saying there, Robert, that change, people don't want to change. They don't want to adapt. They want to keep doing the same things and try to get a different result.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's when you take some risks to better yourself, to people, let me try this resource. Let me do something different, and hope and trust that the process will make me a better person. And and if once you let go of that fear, that bondage of fear, and really go for it, I like that quote, everything you want will be there.
Yeah.
So today, many things are holding us back. I know that when I was younger, I had a fear of heights, right? And I said, I just don't like it. It made me very nervous. But the first time I ever was able to pilot a plane, let me tell you, that was everything I've ever wanted to do right there.
Yeah.
I felt that adrenaline, and it was this just amazing that at the end I was like, all right, I have to find a way to get a pilot license or something, because I just put my fear aside. And you don't know until you really go for it fully, when your passion is. And fear has a way of gripping you and destroying everything, destroying your faith, destroying your passion, little by little, sucking the life out of you until it's almost you die a little inside. So we have to put fear in its place, and we have to just drive forward to become better versions of ourselves.
Yeah. How about you, Karoline? What does this say to you?
Yeah, I love this quote, by the way. Fear inhibits you from reaching your dreams. And it's also like, it doesn't necessarily have to be maybe something that you've never tried before, but possibly even in your career or in a hobby you have this fear of maybe pushing yourself even further.
Yeah.
In what you enjoy doing, or maybe even something that you're involved in now in your life. And I know that I've read studies of people who are reaching, the end of their life, or they're getting older. One of the biggest regrets they have is not taking the chance of something that they've always wanted to do, or because they were afraid.
Yeah.
They didn't take the risk, and it's like, I don't want to get to that point, right? Like, I don't want to get to the end of my life, or even possibly maybe even a few years from now, and look back and be like, man, I regret not having reached for what I wanted, what I truly wanted, because I was just afraid.
Yeah. For me, when I think of fear, I think of uncertainty. I think of only if statements. You know those only if statements you get? Only if this happens, I'll be happy. Only if I get this title. Only if I have this house. Only if everything. One thing I wanted to share, I was trying to type, and that's why the banners went a little crazy, is this. It's from Mary Ann Rackman. And it says, courage does always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. That's it. Sometimes, for me, there's a lot of emphasis on like big things. Sometimes the biggest things are the smallest things. And sometimes it's the mindset. Sometimes it's calling a person that you haven't called for a while, connecting. Sometimes it's just saying, you know what? I was hurt, but I'm going to let that go because of my connection with you, my life. I'm not going to hold. There's this one. I know family members who've not spoken for 10 years until the person passed away. And then I know family members who had no boundaries, who will talk to the most toxic person, bringing them even down. Who's right? Who's right at that? It's kind of is at both ends of the spectrum. So I feel for me, it has kind of shaped how I look and how I do things. But like I said, uncertainty is what comes to mind. Uncertainty. The one I wanted to also start touching on how important is a safe place. And it sounds silly because, a lot of people are like, I'm safe. But really, for me, a safe place means many different things. A safe place in a support group. And I've seen people who've been hurt bad. And some of them been on this podcast. Some of them shared their stories. And I always commend those who come on, because it's hard to share enough and to share it to everyone else. But at the same time, you get 4 people who have been hurt so much, and you put them in the room. And if someone's outside, they're like, nothing's changed. Like their social, economic, they may still have some law problems, all this stuff. But the funny thing is, a lot of times I've seen personally that they feel better and they do better. Why? Connections do matter. We're talking about relationships. This is February when this uploads, and what's a big emphasis in the States? Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is emphasized, and sometimes it's kind of such a counter thing. People either love it or hate it. Like, it brings back memories if you're alone and you're single, if you've been hurt. And it brings up a lot of urgency, but like at the same time, I like what I mentioned this in previous podcasts, and I don't know if Karoline has shared this story about John Lennon, but I love it. As a child, John Lennon, his teacher said, What do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone's like, fireman, astronaut. And John Lennon said, I want to be happy. And the teacher's like, you got it wrong. I feel like he got it more right. But like when we think about relationships, it's just like life. There's no formula. You know this. A lot of us, there's no like, I figured it out. I just got married. Joanne, I don't have a formula that will always work because people keep changing. And that's the point. It's a journey. And I think a safe place is important. I want to give it to Karoline and then to Abel. Yeah. What do you think? What comes to mind when you think of safe place, and why does it matter, especially today?
It matters. Well, it matters for everyone, and especially today because of COVID, of course.
Yeah.
It's very stressful, and I know many, if not all of us, are going through really difficult times in different ways. A safe place, what it does is it allows not only us emotionally, but also even physically to be in a state of calmness, in a state of peace. Because if our bodies are always, having those fear responses or really stressful responses, we need some form of place to kind of like breathe and find that relief. And it can be many different things, right? Like you said, like a support group.
Yeah.
Is helpful for many people because they have people that they can connect with, people who know what they're going through, and they can talk it out and let it out. Or for someone else, it might just be, a corner in their house where they can be alone. Or it might just be you come home and, like your spouse, a safe place with your spouse.
Yeah.
Vent to each other, or just hold each other, whatever it is. But it's very important for everyone to figure out what that safe place is and to utilize it the best way that you can.
Yeah. How about you, Abel?
Safe place is so important because many of us, we can fall into the mentality or trap that we think that we are alone. And when we go into a safe place with people around us and we hear these stories and we are in a small group, we hear that we're not alone.
Yeah.
That there are other people that are also going through challenges, and what you might be feeling, someone else has felt before. And it's just that wonderful thing that someone can actually sympathize with you. And they can have compassion with you because they have the same weaknesses, the same situations that you're going through. So it's so good to have that spot, that place that you can go to that there's no judgment. There's no fear that you will not be accepted or loved any less. But you can just hear yourself say what you're feeling inside. And I believe when you hear yourself saying it, you say, wow, like you really realize it. And sometimes the words that are coming out of your mouth, it just expresses, the deep desires of your heart. So it's a good place to also hear other people encourage you and tell you how they have moved on or how they have been able to get through or what's been working with them, so we can all help each other
and have hope.
Yeah, I love how we go back to hope. It's one of the fundamental things. And NAMI, the last principle of support is we never give up hope. I like when I was looking at this, it's inclusive. It's like what you're talking about with Fast and Furious, familia. The thing is, we is a community, and we is the people around us. We is not exclusive. It's not for only just a few. or not them, but them. It's for everyone. And I think we never give up hope. I like this never give up. You know, when you think of giving up, we give up a lot. Sometimes we give up our value. We give up on our dreams. We give up because we're afraid, you know, because a lot of times we've been like, it's all about knowing it, get it right the first time. I know that whole thing, but it doesn't provide a safe place. It doesn't provide growth. You know, in October this year, the theme was "It's okay to fall." It was very punny, but it's okay to fall, because the thing is, one of the things that was helpful in my growth was it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay, because the thing was, it allowed me room to you know, when I'm symptomatic and I'm already feeling down, my value is already down because I haven't reached A, B, or C, and then I feel sick, and I thought, oh, and I leaned on one thing, and for me, I think that that in itself was not helpful. So that safe place model, like we talked about before, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to fall. Those are the safe environments. Those are the ingredients that germinate a safe environment. Because the thing is, the only certainty that we have is how we view the world. You know, when as a young child, you kind of look at your parents as models. You look at good relationships. You know, there's good guys and bad guys and all that stuff when you're growing up, and what to do. And for me, I don't look at what people say. There's been a lot of hurt, you know, in this country and around the world. I don't look at the words. I look for the reasons, you know, because there's a lot of reasons behind why they're so hurt people. Hurt people a lot of times. And I just want to share this real quick, and then we're going to get to hold on, you just wrapping up your final thoughts. So the one thing that I really spoke to me was, I thought my story was important. I thought it was. I thought I had to share it in my relationships, and it didn't. One thing that what was his name? Dale Carnegie. You guys know Dale Carnegie at all? He wrote a book at all. This is one advice I love that he says. He says, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years trying to get other people interested in you. For me, that says a lot about communications. It's not about us. It's not about my story. And when I realized that in my podcast and my approach with Revive Ministries is not me. It's not about me. It's about a safe place for people to share, because I found a lot of healing in our connections. And I just want to ask you to kind of, what are your final thoughts? You know, we talked a lot today. I know we had a little technical issue, but that will be fixed. But as we wrap up, stretching on the theme of wellness and relationships and all the threads that we went, or anything we didn't mention, why is this important? Why are we talking about relationships? February sometimes is one of those, I don't want to think about Valentine's Day. Some people love it, some people hate it. But really, relationships are our family. It's our church family, if you have that, or it's your groups. It could be your spouse. It could be your friends. How about I have Abel go first, and you just as we wrap up, and share what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the theme of wellness and relationships is so important, because there are healthy relationships and there's toxic relationships.
Yes.
And relationships and the people that you are close to, and the people that you care about, the people that are in your circle, it impacts you more than you know.
Yeah.
Your environment, it can impact the way you see the world, the way, you know, your plans, your future. You can derail them depending on the people you have around you. So it is so important, so critical that you have healthy relationships. And, you know, I have seen how healthy relationships can help you flourish as a person. It brings happiness, joy to your life. But toxic relationships, they can destroy your morale. It can destroy, can bring you into a very bad place. So
Yeah.
we are looking at who we are connected with. It says also a lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to reach out to the different resources, look at other podcasts here in Revive Ministries, just to start growing those healthy relationships that you have. And if you have those healthy relationships, don't let them go. Don't disconnect from them. Reach out. Have that group, like we were talking about, that safe place. Those people that care about you and want to see you be a better you. So just be connected with them.
Yeah. How about you, Karoline?
Yeah, I would say definitely nurture your relationships. And it is really important for your well-being. And also, if you have been suffering from relationships, take the steps to find the healing that you need. Maybe it's reconciliation, or as Abel was saying, maybe it's cutting ties, relationships off. If it's not, if it's been bringing you down or really affecting your health in a negative way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. For me, it goes back to a 5-year-old boy, and not talking about John Lennon. It was this guy. He was sick. A 5-year-old boy was sick, and he was dehydrated. And his father and mother attended church regularly before this. No one came to visit him. The mother said, "Never do you have to go there." This is a very interesting story. And the 5-year-old wanted to be with his father, and he went. And primary teacher called him out on not knowing stuff, and he didn't feel like he belonged, and he never went back until much later. That boy is me. That is the 5-year-old boy. So when it comes to relationship connections, it does matter. A lot of times, if we just emphasize on knowing stuff and not just reach out and not look at the words people say, and that is what really drives me, because there's a lot of people I don't agree with, and that's okay. That's okay to not agree with people, but at the same time, don't look at the words. Look at the reasons. And I just want to say thank you again, Abel and Karoline, for just coming in and having a little chat with me. And sorry for the technical. I'm hoping it will go smooth. If you don't see anything wrong, then I did work my magic. But again, thank you again. I just want to share with those who are watching that you can always find all the updates on Revive Ministries on reviveministriesfl.com. I want to say goodbye from Revive Ministry Podcast, leaving you with this last quote that says, "Live life as though nobody's watching. Express yourself as though everybody is listening." Nelson Mandela